All right, so we have here the finals of this season's league between N.A. Smith and Recycle Garbage. I think it's N.A. Smith has to win 3.5 out of 6 here to win the match. Let me double check that. So on a 3-3, Recycle Garbage wins.
Right, and I think it's Recycle Garbage's first A-League championship match. I didn't actually check that, but
I think it might even be their first A-League.
yeah, I think you're right. They made a pretty good run right through the
Yeah.
divisions.
Yeah, they just promoted from B last season.
And N.A. Smith is looking to take his second title, I think.
That sounds right.
Looks like they are ready, and here we go.
Okay. So you got everything you need to build here. You got actions, draw, some thinning, and plus buy. Procession looks okay. I don't know if that'll come up. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look that amazing to me. I could see it. I mean, there's no free costs. You can't profitably process black hats, and I mean, I guess you can do some workers' village into treasurers, but
Or treasures into hireling.
yeah,
I do agree that the lack of a 3 cost is a big limitation. 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 would be a nice little progression there. One thing that makes it potentially something that you'll see is just because Overlord's around. So rather than having like a dedicated procession in your deck that you might not want to use on some turns, you can just play Overlord as procession if the situation arises.
yeah, and both players with 2-5 or 5-2 for recycle garbage. 5-2 looks, I guess, a bit better because you can scouting party turn 2. Would be my guess, like treasurer, scouting party, maybe.
Yeah, I think I prefer the 5-2 on account of being able to top deck the treasurer. On 2-5, I think I would just buy the Overlord and use it as treasure, and you're taking 1 debt, but now you've got a more versatile card.
Yeah, could see that. I don't think that Black Hat is like awful. I think you will play with it as it's not the only draw, but it's well, I think you will play with it and some workers' villages for draw. So I could also see taking the Black Hat, but Overlord is more flexible. So yeah, either one seems fine to me.
On 5-2, you could also open treasurer Overlord. That would be a very strong opening as well.
Okay, N.A. Smith opts for the just Overlord without Black Hat.
Also, something that will probably come up here, I would think, is you can play with stockpiles as your main payload for the entirety of the game here. Normally stockpiles run out, but what you can do to avoid that problem here is you just keep 1 stockpile in reserve, and then you trash it with treasurer, and then regain it with another treasurer, and that unexiles all your other stockpiles.
Yeah, that's a cool interaction, right? I was also thinking that maybe you want to trade us some estates, but because of that stockpile thing, maybe that's not really what you want to do.
Yeah, I feel like I normally like trade if trader is your main thinning, which in this case it is. Sometimes you just like trade 2 or 3 estates for your payload and play with the silvers, but it's also a little bit slow if alternatives exist. One of the nice things about that little stockpile thing is if you have reliable draw, it guarantees that all your treasures are at the bottom of your shuffle because your treasures are in exile until the end of the turn. So you draw through most of your deck, then you do the little unexiled thing, and now you got a discard full of stockpiles you can draw with no risk that you draw them too early and dud.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So I think the 2 options here are Overlord or Scouting Party. They go for Overlord. I think that's totally reasonable. I don't think on 5-2 I would open Black Cat. On 2-5, I think it was a consideration.
Yeah, I think I would have gone for the scouting party rather, but this could turn out pretty nicely. If you don't collide, you play 2 treasurers and trash 2 cards, or rather, lately I've been taking the key as my first thing quite a bit more often than I used to. I think that's...
Really?
Yeah.
I'm generally of the mind that I don't want to take the key first. Because the problem is, like, if I do it and then they do it afterwards, well, they're the only one who's benefited from that interaction. Now they've got the key and I have to do it a second time. If they've got the key, I will happily take it back. That's been an Overlord, or not Overlord, a Treasurer play on that. But I feel like if you take it first, you just get this problem of like, all right, neither of you trash any coppers, but they just end up with the key.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's stronger if you're the only person who has the treasurer, but...
Oh yeah,
still,
if you have the only treasure, then I'm more on board with it.
Like, say they take it on turn 3, and yeah, I guess it depends. Sometimes it's just very valuable to have the extra money next turn, but I guess with the opposing treasurer, you can never be sure of that. So yeah, like here, you just trash, right, and pay off the debt. Oh,
are they gonna play this match on their phone? I do not envy them. Yeah, like if you had the 5-2 and they had the 3-4 and a kingdom without Overlord, I think that's a scenario where I'd much more strongly consider taking the key, because there's a good chance they can't take it back for a few turns. Here, your opponent's going to open Overlord as well, 5-2 or not, or something that lets you play Treasure, either Treasure or Overlord, and then you have that concern of they'll steal it. I mean, another reason to take the key sometimes might just be you have an exact amount of money in your hand, like you really wanted to buy a hireling and you've got exactly 6 since you don't want to trash a copper or something like that. That can also be a situational case where you might take it.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, if nasmith, looks like nasmith bottom decked the Overlord, right? Or did
oh, did they?
Didn't
oh, that's really unfortunate. So only a 1 in 11 chance of that happening, but this is like definitely the worst possible shuffle for nasmith. And they even collide with their black cat. This really could not be going worse. And the problem is, like, you can't even avoid that. Like, even if for some reason you're really cautious and on turn 3 you're like, what if my Overlord bottom decks? I'll try to, like, buy a scouting party to make sure it doesn't. Well, now you've triggered a shuffle, and so you've stopped your Overlord from bottom decking at the cost of causing it to miss the shuffle anyway. Not a good way to play around this.
Yeah, 11 cards sombrero is often much sadder. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's true, but in this case, you open Overlord nothing, and then it bottom decks. It's just so bad.
Indeed. I mean, Recycle Garbage is Overlord bottom decked, but they also got a treasure in their deck that they got to play, so I think it's a lot less sad for them. As RG, here's a good case, I think, for Procession. I would process this treasure, gain a hireling, buy an Overlord. Maybe Scouting Party. Actually, definitely Scouting Party first. Scouting Party, and then buy... Yeah, probably still an Overlord.
Yeah, that looks like a good play. I also like nasmith's play on turn 5. Going mission and Overlord, so you can pay off some debt on your mission turn and also cycle a bit.
Oh yeah, that's always a cute interaction. Using your mission turn just to pay the debt. So I really want at least one Scouting Party here, I think, for RG. I'm pretty sure most of the rest of these cards are all junk. Might even consider 2 of them. Actually, I'm not sure 2 leaves you with fewer cards than 1. At the very least, I'm buying 1 Scouting Party here, I would think is pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the second doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot, so I guess you just... What do you buy here?
Yeah.
Buy another Overlord?
That was my default answer. I wouldn't hate other stuff. I would think that if you were going for the 2 Scouting Parties, you'd have discarded a different set of cards. Rather than discard the estates on the first Scouting Party, you'd discard like the Coppers or Black Cat, and then buy the second Scouting Party to try to trigger shuffle that just has your hireling and then the cards you first discarded in them.
Yeah, that sounds right. Nasmith again drawing an Overlord dead, so it's not really going well.
NA Smith's deck is just not working. It's not really his fault. Like, I don't think he's misplayed this. He's just had really bad draws. I think he was, what, 2/3 likely to draw that dead? Or no, I'm looking at the wrong shuffle. That was somewhat unlikely, wasn't it?
Recycle garbage with the decision. Oh, I guess maybe also some connection issue.
Yeah.
With the decision of playing the Black Cat or not, but now okay, it's better now for them. Apparently.
I think just another Black Cat here. I don't want a scouting party, I don't think. He's got a bunch of good cards coming up. I think Black Cat sounds better than nothing. Because it is the best draw here.
Yeah, I want some Workers' Villages also, but they can't afford them yet. Yeah, Black Cat with as the main draw is gonna be a bit of a funky greening phase, I guess.
You might consider picking up a treasure before greening. I mean, not that silver is really much better for your deck than curses are, but it blocks you from taking a lot of negative points that are otherwise hard to get rid of, and then it could potentially trash curses on turns where you didn't top deck it.
You mean trader, right? I thought you.
What did I say?
Treasurer, I think.
Oh, well, I did mean trader.
I misheard. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know what I said, but I intended to say trader.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
I feel like this scouting party is bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't look too great. I mean, it's a bit better if you bottom deck one of the good cards. Now you had to discard one of the good cards.
You also triggered a shuffle that you wouldn't have otherwise. I would have been happy to not trigger a shuffle and just play both my Overlords and my Hireling and have the Overlords go right back in the shuffle.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. But still, Recycle Garbage looks quite ahead here, I think.
Yes, even despite that play, they seem to have an enormous lead. To answer JAKKDL, I'm sorry, I still don't know how to pronounce that. The question, before Procession's text was changed in 2019, you could use it on duration cards. That non-duration portion wasn't there. And so you could process a Hireling. You'd play it twice, so you'd get +2 cards at the start of the turn for the rest of the game, so like twice the effect. But also you trash the Hireling, which means the Procession doesn't even get stuck out of play with the Hireling anymore. So you just get like twice the benefit and none of the drawback. So that was really strong, but can't do it now. I don't think Warfrat was saying like they could have done it and missed out. I think they're bemoaning the thing they formerly could have done and no longer can since that update.
So it's one of these games where they just keep on buying Overlords. I'm sometimes a bit hesitant to do that. Also, like that Overlord for send that. I don't know if I really like that.
I
You have
agree.
to play some Workers' Villages with them, and yeah, maybe it's sometimes just it's better to sit out a turn and then buy them regularly.
Yeah, I feel like the last Overlord or so for each of them has probably been a mistake. Like the one RG took on the Black Cat turn. Just there's a lot of cheap cards here that I want. You know, I'd like to be buying some stockpiles, Black Cats. Workers' Village isn't super expensive, and you're missing out on a decent number of cards if you're spending most of your turn paying off debt.
Now I think I just want to play 2 Treasurers, taking the key and trashing maybe.
That sounds reasonable to me.
How much money does that leave you with? Take the key.
Looks like they'll have 2 left. Or they're
Looks
going to
like
trash here, so they'll have 1 left.
Okay.
I think
2
I would
would
buy
have been nice
nothing.
for a scouting party, I think would have been decent there. Oh, wait, they
At the very least,
took the key
they
and
didn't buy a
then...
treasure. Oh, sorry, they didn't buy an overlord. And so I think that was probably the right call.
Yeah.
Something interesting here. We're on turn 10 and only 2 stock, or now 3. We've just seen our 3rd stockpile taken. I think it is more often the case that stockpiles are entirely empty by this point.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
I don't think that was a mistake. I think it's just a result of them both having 5/2s and Treasury Kingdoms. You've already got a nice payload card there and weren't rushing to get the stockpiles.
Yeah, right. I was just about to say that, and also the fact that they both open 5/2 means nobody opens, like, if you have 3/4, you maybe just go double stockpile, so, and then you have to rebuy them and stuff, so that changes everything basically.
There is a heated discussion going on in chat as to whether if you played a hireling with an overlord, would it stay out? Of course, that's not possible in this kingdom because there's no cost reduction, but if you had like a highway in play and hireling cost 5, you could play it with overlord. And I believe it does not stay out. I don't know. No, it does.
Yeah,
it does stay out, doesn't it? How do command cards interact with durations?
PC is our rules expert, right? They should know.
Yeah. I think command cards stay out when a duration would have stayed out, right? So the overlord would stay out of play. That's my guess. That's not my confident answer, but that's my guess.
Okay, can we please stop buying overlords now, maybe?
I would hope so, but they keep doing it. 5 feels like too many. The problem is, like, most of the things you're going to be using these overlords for are like really cheap cards, like Workers' Village and Black Cat. And even Treasurer as an overlord target is only okay because if you have a bona fide Treasurer in your deck, you can process it like we saw earlier. Whereas an overlord being used as treasurer, you get less benefit out of processing it.
Yeah, I guess this overlord made sense because it was also paired with a mission.
I know N.A. Smith is a big fan of mission. And I think it shows. He's taken 3 mission turns to Archie's 1.
I could actually see a mission for recycle garbage here with the last overlord, and maybe you actually do play the trader by now. I mean, the deck is so thin, and these estates are kind of annoying.
Yeah, I agree. Trader seems like a reasonable thing to do on a mission turn. I could get behind buy mission by overlord here. With intent to trade some of those estates.
Okay, looks like. And it's with
He's just calling it.
Oh, look, we have key nails in the spectator list.
Who is that? I've seen them before. I don't know who it is.
Me neither.
John, to answer your question about thrones, I believe the rules for throne rooms interacting with durations are different than those for command cards interacting with durations, which is why you wouldn't get the same answer as in that case. Anyways, we got a new kingdom. The main thing I'm seeing here is lack of plus buy is a limitation. So you got to be judicious with what you're gaining here. Crypt looks pretty good to me. I think you're looking to green relatively early here.
Yeah. Sounds right.
I think Overlord as Apprentice looks like it can come up in some cases. It's a little sad with the shelters, but there's good things you can do with it. Like you buy a Fiatum on a turn with Hovel to trash the Hovel, then you Apprentice the Fiatum for draw and get 3 silvers. Apprentice could set up a big crypt turn on the right call. I would expect Apprentice to show up at least a bit. It might be one of those cards where you don't put it in your deck, like we saw with Procession, but you use it via Overlord in the right contexts. Gold doesn't look very attractive to me. Bandit Camp just kind of seems better. I don't think that will come up. Catacombs could. Catacombs is like an okay card here in its own right, and then you can trash it for benefit. Maybe gain like an island for 2 points in the end game.
Yep. What do you open? I think I want to open Mill. I mean, Mill with Hovel in the 4 would be kind of cute, but nobody has that. But I think I still open Mill, Silver probably.
Let's see.
Or do you want to open?
On the 4-3, I think that's actually a good question. I don't know. Yeah, obviously the much better draw would be having the Hovel in the $4 hand, so you could buy a Mill and trash the Hovel. Then I think Mill's a no-brainer. As it stands, I'm conflicted. I wouldn't mind just Overlord. Mill Silver sounds good as well. Maybe even Mill Overlord.
It's a bit of a sad overload for both of them. Not being able to play Apprentice, I guess, was the main.
I don't think it's so bad. You play it as Catacombs. I think Smithies at the top of a shuffle are often really nice. Like if you find your Smithy turn 3 and just trigger a new shuffle that has that Smithy in it again.
Yeah, right. I forgot about the ability to play Catacombs.
Especially with Catacombs, it's like doubly good because you pitched the first 3, and then you're triggering like a clean or almost entirely clean shuffle, depending on how many cards you have in your deck.
Yeah, so you discard those 3, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a struggle there because like you're discarding some good cards to draw what are probably less good cards, but I think the cycling is still worth it, even if it means pitching the silver.
Here we go with the Overlords again.
This is. I mean, this early in the game, I think these Overlords are still pretty reasonable looking, and also there's a lot fewer cheap things, and plus buy and such in this kingdom. I don't think these have been a mistake so far.
No, me neither. It's just funny.
Yes.
Second game in a row. But like here, I'm not sure. I would buy another one. Although I'm not like I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's at the bottom of a shuffle. If you buy that Overlord, it's going right back in. The 5s here look better than before. I think I'm more okay with aggressively clicking Overlord in this kingdom in general than the last one. You got a lot more nice $5 targets of which you might choose various options, so that choice aspect is good. There's fewer cheap things and less to do with plus buy, or literally nothing to do with plus buy here. And so it's not like being in debt is really hurting your turns that much.
Yeah, I think it's fine. One thing you can also do is play Overlord as Island just to set aside a copper. But that's not really high on my priority list.
Is there a reason that would be better than just killing it with Apprentice?
No. Not really. But I guess, okay, maybe later you set aside the provinces then rather.
Yeah, that's true. You can functionally exile the provinces via island, because the Overlord can play the island to get the set aside effect, and then the Overlord itself stays in your deck. I regret this mill. The opening mill? I don't think the mill was a bad opening. It seemed fine to me.
Yeah, I think it's just about this situation here. You don't want to trigger this shuffle, but you kind of also want to play the mill.
Yeah. I'm inclined to say don't play the mill.
Good thing if you... Yeah, same here, but if you play the mill, you can discard 2 and have 4 money to buy. Is that even true? No. 2 dead. Okay, never mind then.
Well, they would have 4 money, but they couldn't trash the Hovel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is it just 2 coppers? Maybe was that shuffle smaller than I thought it was?
Mm, I have no idea.
Akuchi is suggesting there's only 3 coppers down there. That actually might have been okay to trigger. I was thinking there was more in their deck than that. Yeah, top decking 2 coppers isn't so bad. I thought they were top decking like 5 junk cards.
Okay, so what's the next step here? I mean, they already have, each of them have 3 overlords, I think. I don't think we are that far away from greening. I mean, you can play bandit camps and catacombs with these overlords. I guess maybe you take the crypt at some point, but gonna leave that up to you.
I would have thought that, like, if I were in N.A. Smith's shoes and we're thinking about crypt, I wouldn't have bought an overlord there, because now you're in debt, and I don't know, can he hit 13? I don't know if he can hit 13. The debt will, of course, impede your ability to buy a crypt.
I mean, I kind of like one crypt here, and then you're so thin, and you play like a couple of bandit camps a turn, and you have enough money to still province.
Yeah, I would
Quite.
love to just crypt all these coppers, because the thinning here is not good at killing coppers. Apprentice can't kill coppers very effectively, nor can Island. But you do have good ways to spike one big turn, just trashing one high value card with an Apprentice. I think if we don't see it, it's probably just because the way these shovels are working out seems to be pushing them into clicking overlords a lot, which is potentially going to make the crypt play awkward. Oh, we can see it here, actually. RG's about to hit 6. This would be a good turn to pick one up.
Yeah, looks fine.
Just more overlords. Okay.
I think overlord was also fine.
You also could have just taken any of the 5s outright, even. Like, I think if we're gonna buy a 5 other than crypt, catacombs could be nice as well. Catacombs is a card that has more benefit actually being in your deck as opposed to just being a card you play with overlord, because having it in your deck means you have the option to trash it later for the potential late game extra gain.
Yeah, that could be relevant indeed.
Like, if you're expecting to play at least one catacombs a turn anyway for draw, might as well have a genuine catacombs in your deck, and then you have this latent threat of, on my final turn, I'll score 8 points instead of 6 by gaining an island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think catacombs and crypt both seem better to me than overlord in that case.
I mean, the good thing about overlord is you are probably going to hit any price points you want, so the 2 dead don't hurt you all that much.
Yeah.
And so you're more flexible. Like if you draw the catacombs in your starting hand without the overlord, you would rather have that catacombs be an overlord.
Yeah, for any of the other action cards, like Bandit Camp, Treasury, or Apprentice, it does seem like Overlord's going to be pretty strictly better, because you can just play it as that card anyway, and the debt doesn't hurt. Catacombs has that unique benefit of the bottom text. Obviously, you can't use Overlord to get the bottom text effect, because it's not an effect of playing the card. And so there's an argument here that Catacombs could just be better than Overlord, despite Overlord being Catacombs plus some.
Recycle Garbage has that extra point, so that's kind of interesting. They don't really have to initiate the greening, maybe. So maybe you just... Okay, maybe they just go ahead. Nope.
Just more Overlords. I mean, better to be Overlorded than Underlorded, but the mill is helping them a little bit. Because it means that if N.A. Smith just starts provincing here and they province back, they're still in a fine position. But as N.A. Smith, I think I would take a Catacombs now. Because Catacombs is functionally taking the points lead, because you're threatening to score 2 points later, but it still allows you to build. Oh, does he already have a Catacombs? Oh, in that case, yeah, he's fine. Whoa! I didn't even think about that. If N.A. Smith has a Catacombs, then I think RJ's last turn was just a big mistake, wasn't it? they aren't actually safe. Like, they don't have the 1 point
Yeah,
lead; they have the 1 point deficit here. In which case, you needed to take a province.
I think you're right, but I also don't think I don't think they will province every turn. I think there will be some time where you have trouble, but maybe that's. I mean, I guess it depends on how everything shapes up.
It is possible that I'm overestimating their decks. They did never get rid of these coppers really at all.
And also, RG has the 5 Overlord, so they have a small advantage in the deck reliability, I guess.
Now the decks, I don't know if they're as reliable as I'm about to suggest, but ideally, if you could island your previous turn's province each turn, then your deck's not even going to get progressively worse as you green.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would be the ideal scenario.
What are these bottom 3 cards? The only reason I could think to not keep the Hovel in hand is if for some reason you thought playing Overlord here for money would not get you to 8. But yeah, that's just impossible, right? So if the bottom 3 cards are a copper, and Overlord, you could like play this Overlord as a treasury and hit 8 without discarding the Hovel, and then trash the Hovel for free.
Yeah, that's a bit confusing. Yeah, and now you have that Howl in your deck. Do you play the spoils?
I would not. It's functionally a gold, and I think in the state of the game we're in, having an extra gold in your deck for 1 turn is better than not if you're just trying to hit 8.
It makes it slightly less likely that you will be able to do the island thing.
Yeah,
I
that is the
think.
downside.
Yeah, maybe they will be able to just province out.
In which
No,
case, my money is on Nasmith. I think you might take the opportunity to do the apprentice thing sooner rather than later, where you kill the catacombs and take an island off of it. Just because, like, I would really want to avoid like the last turn situation where you fail to draw your catacombs and then never get the trash off.
Yeah, but also this catacombs could help you draw. I mean, over the course, towards the end of the game, of course, in your last turn, you would have to trash it to gain the points lead.
Yeah.
But up until that point, it's kind of nice to have that catacombs in deck.
Okay, but hear me out. Island is a draw card. Thins your deck.
Yeah. Okay.
Please
So
don't
this is
discard the
already-
Hovel. Please. Thank you.
Yeah. This is a bit scary, the starting hand for NA Smith.
Yes, indeed. What do
Maybe
you
just-
play? I think Bandit Camp and just hope.
You could island, and by Duchy you could also Cellar, I don't know, or Bandit Camp. Well, this was the best case, I guess.
Okay, well, they get to 8. So this is a pretty good turn of events, all things considered, I think. You didn't get to do everything your turn could possibly do, but you got to do a lot. I would expect N.A. Smith to apprentice this Catacombs this turn.
Yeah, that looks pretty nice. So even gain this island into the shuffle, so you might be able to use it. I mean, assuming you take an island off of this Catacombs
Yeah.
trash. Recycle Garbage placed the spoils, and Smith kept them around, I think.
Yeah, I think if N.A. Smith apprentices and then provinces here, then RG's only chance is if they dud next turn, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that unlikely, but it's also not super likely. Mill? Does that work if your player... Yeah, I guess Mill's actually probably better even than Island, isn't it? Because N.A. Smith is player 2, so that only ties you in points. But RG being player 1 can't afford to take a tie, because a tie as player 1 is just a loss. It's ultimately just a question of whether you'd rather have a mill or an island in your deck. And I do think I agree. Mill is actually a better choice even than island here.
Yeah, you can discard these provinces if you need to. This looks pretty good now.
Although, I don't know. Is having a mill and a province in your deck better than just having an island? Or sorry, having a mill and a province in your deck better than nothing? Because if you draw back onto the island, you can set aside a province. I'm not totally sure. I would think about it, but both mill and island are now seeming pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah, now it's just over, and Smith can, if nothing else, apprentice the province and then play like Bandit Camp Catacombs and draw deck and have enough money.
Yeah, even if RG buys a duchy here, that's not enough to avoid the apprentice province line.
So you were right about the catacombs. It turned out to be the crucial thing here.
Yeah, I think RG was a little bit too keen to click overlords. And I was even saying, in this kingdom, that's not a bad general strategy, but I think they still managed to overdo it. They just play this overlord as Fiatum.
Yeah, nothing you can do here.
So what do you even... I mean, you buy duchy, I guess. Could buy island even. You're hoping your opponent duds badly. Because even if they like kind of dud, NA Smith could buy a duchy and still be safe. Yeah. They have to like fully dud, which is just real unlikely. All right, so 1-1 after 2 games.
Yeah, in these almost single game kingdoms, sometimes one strategic mistake, like if you don't foresee that, you think, yeah, I'm just building, get my overlords and stuff, and then you realize later, oh, turn whatever it was turned out to be maybe the decisive mistake.
Yeah, my guess is maybe they overlooked the catacombs thing, which would explain why they greened 1 extra turn there, or thought they were justified in doing so. All right, game 3. This looks like a much stronger kingdom. It's 1-1, Friedel. So we got a lot going on here. We got actions with Ironmonger, draw, torture, livery, trashing, develop, miser. There's no plus buy, but there are gains. You can gain extra stuff with develop, and then you can build up to dominate. John suggesting I am develop. I think that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, that sounds good indeed. I wonder. Yeah, I guess it's not really a miser board, right? You just go with lots of ironmongers and then some torturers and hope to get some actions like that.
Yeah, I suspect miser is too slow and not necessary enough. I mean, like if I could get to a state where I had 2 misers and 7 coppers on the mat, that'd be wonderful for hitting dominate. But I feel like you get destroyed getting there. You lose the Ironmonger split badly, take a bunch of curses, and then that deck just never comes together.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Actions are a bit limited here. There's only the 1 stack of Ironmongers. There's a lot of terminal action cards you might potentially want to play, like Torture, Livery, and Develop. And Ironmonger, while it's a great card, it's not the most reliable as your like Soul Village, because like it can just like fail if you reveal a treasure or a green card, and these decks aren't going to get thin super fast. And so you're a little action limited, which means I don't want to lose the Ironmonger split.
Yep. So NA Smith with a 50-50 here to find the develop.
You got the better of the 2 draws for sure.
I guess you trash at least 1 estate, but later on maybe you consider trashing copper over estate.
I think that there's situations where that would be reasonable. You have only 1 buy, so if you think your deck is going to hit like 5 anyway, there's not an additional value in having more money in it for quite a while until you're ready to dominate.
Yeah, but they are not at the point yet, so I guess like yeah, you take 1 silver here, but it takes a moat. Yeah, why not? I guess.
I get the moat. It's gonna block torturers, which can be nice. And it's some draw.
Okay, recycle garbage does actually trash the copper there over the estate.
I feel like that might be too early. I think I want to turn at least one estate into a silver rather than keep all 3 of them around. Like I get the general motive, but like you're running a real risk. They're just barely hitting 4 here.
Yeah, by Ironmonger for sure.
Yeah. I think this Ironmonger is kind of a no-brainer. I think now that you've got a silver in your deck for each of the players, now trashing additional estates is less obvious.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
You could consider maybe trying to, kill a silver into a Ironmonger and a moat, and then maybe you need to replace it, something like that. That might be an argument for doing it a second time.
Yeah. Actually, nasmith could do that here and then delay the Torturer, but opts to just trash a copper instead.
I think this is a remarkably weak kingdom for delay. I think delay is great in kingdoms with plus buy, especially with weak action, because it like converts your plus buy into sources of plus action. But here we have no plus buy, so like every delay you buy is passing up on an Ironmonger or something, and that makes it a very high cost.
I mean, in this case, it wouldn't have passed up on Ironmonger because you trashed the silver and gained the Ironmonger that way, and you only would have had $2 left to buy something, so it would have passed up on a moat. But yeah, generally I agree. Yeah. Delay without plus buy is often not that amazing. Think, do you buy just Ironmonger for 7 here, or do you take another Torturer? I think I like another Ironmonger.
That sounds pretty reasonable to me. I guess the reason you might buy Torturer is if you think your opponent's gonna get Ironmonger anyway. No, I'm with you on Ironmonger actually. I think there's a threat that if you don't take Ironmonger now, your opponent might just snap up 2 of them on the next turn.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly. Yeah.
And that's worrisome to me. So I think I would take the Ironmonger so as to avoid losing out on both of them.
Gold.
Well, that can't be right.
No.
It's a single buy kingdom. What are you even doing with the extra money?
I mean, I guess they want to get to dominate, but I don't think that's the path.
That's just there's things here to do that take priority, like getting Ironmongers in your deck and then hitting your opponent with Torturer, and getting them to develop. Gold is not really helping you do any of that. In fact, it's kind of hurting you.
And nasmith took the last 2 Ironmongers.
Yep. So yeah, definitely the Ironmonger buy is looking like it was pretty good right about now.
I think now I want to delay instead of buying another mode.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. I mean, if you only have a few Ironmongers now, moats are looking a lot less desirable because you don't have the villages to play many of them.
What is the actual split? Is it 7-3 or 6-4?
Let's find out.
7-3 apparently. Yeah, that's rough.
Wow, yeah. So they were 3-3 on the Ironmongers, and then nasmith just got all 4 of the last 4. I feel like RG did not prioritize the Ironmonger sufficiently there in these last few turns. Like we were saying at the very beginning of the game, Ironmonger looks like it's potentially the most important card in this kingdom, given the lot of good terminals and the lack of other villages.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, it seems
yeah, best case.
seems
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. It seems hard to come back from this, I
Yeah,
think.
I'd say it's pretty darn lost. Like best case scenario for RG is if all three of your Ironmongers connect with an action, you get to play 4 terminal actions per turn. So like, play your develop to thin. That's one of them. Play 2 torturers for draw. You get down like a livery maybe. I mean, livery is not even worth it here if you don't have enough actions to do like develop gain and play things, because then it's just like +3 coins +1 card.
How do we like this rogue? That came a bit as a surprise to me.
It seems greedy, but I mean, if you have 7 Ironmongers, maybe you can swing it. It lets you trash good things with develop and then gain them back from the trash if you want to.
Yeah.
It still feels wrong to me. Like I don't care about regaining stuff that much, right? If I want more cards, I can just develop more cards.
Yeah, the question is, what else do you buy? I mean, I guess you can buy a second torturer there as nasmith instead. It looks a bit better to me.
Yeah, Torture seems real good for N.A. Smith right now. You got tons of villages. Add some draw.
Yeah, the good thing, yeah, you can develop an Ironmonger, that's right, and then you have 2 actions on top and make sure your Ironmongers hit and do some more develop stuff. So maybe it's technically justified.
If the idea is to develop 4 costs, I feel like an equally easy way to get to that is if you just develop a 5 first, and you get a 4 and a gold, and then you can develop that 4 and a 5 and a 3 and go from there.
It's an easy discard for any Smith, right? It's guts like that. Interesting.
Yeah, the problem, of course, as Akuchi is pointing out, is it's like you don't want that many cards of varying price points, and so doing lots of develop stuff might end up giving you a bunch of cards you don't really want. But you need 14 mana in your deck, and so if you ended up with some surplus silvers and golds as a result of developing, that wouldn't be the worst. Oh, you know what the rogue might be for? Maybe it's for pillage. Maybe he wants to pillage RG every turn. I would think you take the pillage before the rogue if that's the goal, but that could be a thing. Just really kick them while they're down. Pillage the 1 Ironmonger they're likely to have in their hand.
Yeah, that sounds mean. I mean, either way, whatever NA Smith does, it's...
Yeah. You actually might
matter.
voluntarily discard a Torturer even after the curses run out, just to avoid the pillage attack.
Yeah. Also, pillage is a way for NA Smith to get some economy into his deck, right?
Yeah. So maybe we see the repeated rogue pillage thing come up. Honestly, N.A. Smith has a very wide range of options to choose from, all of which are, not all of which, most of which are winning.
Yeah, for sure.
I like the moat delay there. There's really not any cards costing 4 or less that you want in your deck all that desperately.
Wouldn't he have had more money had he played the mode, or was the shuffle not a good?
I don't remember what the shuffle situation was like at that point. He still has 1 Torturer, though. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, still drawing deck, and I mean, 2 tortures is a lot better than 1 if you actually get the attack in, but okay,
All right.
pillage, here we
Here
go.
we go. Unfortunately, it's not going to do anything. You don't even play it this turn. You know your opponent has a moat on top now. He didn't know that at the time that he gained the pillage because he hadn't played an attack yet. But once he played the torture, he would have seen RG reveal moat. So just save the pillage for next turn. How is it 8-2? Did he steal an Ironmonger? I don't think that's right. The Ironmonger that he gained from the trash was one he put in the trash himself. So he just... It was 7-3, then it was 6-3, then it was 7-3 again.
And Nasmith just delayed the pillage with like 10 money or something.
That's pretty funny. I don't want any of these cards. I feel like that's wrong. I feel like I would take a Torturer there. I don't know. Playing just one Torturer seems weird.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess an upside is this is one way to guarantee your pillage gets in before the Torturer, so they can't avoid it.
Yeah, unless of course the moat helps.
That's true. How many moats does RG have? Is it just one? Yeah, RG only has one moat, so the odds of them blocking the attacks aren't super high.
Yeah, especially if they blocked last turn and Nasmith saw that, so that's maybe one reason to delay the pillage there also.
Goodbye, Ironmonger.
You mean goodbye Ironmonger? Or
Nasmith pillaged RG's Ironmonger.
Ah, yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, which makes sense because that is the card RG needs and doesn't have enough of.
Yep. Let's see if Nasmith is able to dominate this turn. I think it's kind of likely.
I do like Akuchi's suggestion a little bit better than what RG actually did. If you're just going to delay the torture anyway, you could have gained a curse rather than discarding and then trashed it with develop, which helps both because it means you can potentially discard to a later torture attack if your opponent gains and plays one, but also just because it lowers the curse pile. And as RG, I feel like I'm anticipating getting hit with a lot of curses at some point. I mean, if Inexpensive just never gets additional tortures, then maybe not. I don't know. But
yeah, the line looked good.
It's hard to say too much just because there's nothing RG can do that's going to win the game. They are playing one nonetheless. So RG has a pillage of their own, but they can't gain and play it like NA Smith can because they don't have a rogue. And having to spend your buy to buy a pillage every turn is really painful in a single gain kingdom, or single buy kingdom at least. And they also don't have enough actions to support playing a rogue and a pillage every turn, while also drawing.
Yeah. Oh, this is dominate? If you don't play the develop, is it?
Let's see. It doesn't look like it. I'm not even sure you even need to dominate there, isn't it, Smith? Even if you could, like if it means passing on trashing, like your opponent's not dominating all that frequently. You could just trash, get debt control, and dominate later, and you'll still win.
Yeah, for sure. So, what do you play now as recycle garbage?
It's a good question. none of. I mean, nothing looks exceptionally great. If you play the pillage, you don't get to 8. You can play the moat and maybe get 8. There's no way you're emptying the provinces before your opponent dominates a few times. As RG in this position, I think I would just play the resign button. I would trash the gold first just to recycle my garbage, and then I would click the resign button.
That might be the best line, yeah. I think I play pillage, and then look at the opponent's hand and then resign.
Yeah, I mean, probably torture discard's the best here, but if you see your opponent's got 3 Ironmongers anyway, there's not a whole lot you can do.
I mean, maybe playing mode is the best. Just, I mean, you don't have anything to lose. If you find the copper, maybe you already get your third province and you have some hopes, potentially.
Yeah. As it turns out, they they drew an Ironmonger and Torturer, which is horrible. But it was a reasonable gamble, given their situation. That's interesting that they played the Pillage before the Torturer. Oh, that makes sense. They're trying to avoid their opponent getting to discard, which is worth it. I do agree with that. So that 3-1 for Nasmith now? Have I counted that correctly?
Yeah, that sounds right. 2-1, okay.
2-1.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe not right. Just trusted you. I didn't actually know, but
It's a terrible idea. Why did you trust me?
yeah. Ooh, that looks spicy.
What do we got here? The only village is Diplomat. Can you build with a Diplomat here?
Yeah, I think you can. You have Sanctuary to reduce your hand size, and well, I guess
And
you also want to maybe
Pearl
play with
Diver can
Haunted Wood.
reduce hand size as well, actually. And
Yeah, right.
Cartographer.
You have Chameleon. Yeah, I think you
Actually,
can build.
Diplomat auto activates itself, doesn't it? If you play your first Diplomat as a Chameleon, it always activates.
Right. That's cute.
Yes, I think we're building like a Diplomat draw to X thing with just various actions getting Chameleon as payload.
Yeah. Of course, we open double cargo ship. It's like a no-brainer.
Is that true?
I don't know. It's just kidding, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I actually would do it, but of course, it's not a no-brainer.
I'd be looking at cargo ship Diplomat.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Because if they collide, you can just Chameleon the Diplomat and then be fine. You like Chameleon Diplo draw with cargo. That might be a good result.
Yeah, I think this is Diplo cargo is maybe the best. Just love having that 5 cost turn 3 and play it, which double
If there
cargo
was
help.
someone who would expect to open double cargo here, I think it'd be you. For those who don't know, Sicomatic gains cargo ship in like 96% of games or something.
It has come down a bit, but I still love it.
It's a good card. It's a real good card, especially in the opening. It's also nice here because it's a draw card even.
Yeah. Even though on turn 3, I'm not sure, like, do you want to draw with it? I think I rather want to play it if it makes me hit 5
If
at
I
that point.
saw cargo ship and at least 3 money, I would not draw with it there on turn 3. Because then if you put a Sanctuary in your deck, that Sanctuary will not trigger a shuffle.
Yeah. I mean, you could make an argument for then taking Sculptor, gaining a silver, and buying a Sanctuary, which should be possible.
Do you want silvers in this deck?
Nah, not particularly, but like I guess you don't even need the villagers all that much here.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually, Diplomat seems pretty reliable to activate.
so 0 cargo ships. That's a shame.
Now, even with a 6-card hand from Cargo, Diplomat should still activate, right? Let me read this card. Yes, if you had a 6-card hand and played Diplo as Chameleon, you would still activate the Diplomat. So I was thinking briefly whether Cargo Ship might disrupt your Diplomat, but I don't think it even does. RG opens Diplomat Silver, which seems wrong. Like really
Yeah,
wrong. I don't
that's
understand why you'd ever get Silver over Cargo Ship. Are they playing money? If you're playing money, you'd still get Cargo Ship. I don't get that.
yeah, that's a bit strange indeed.
Maybe they don't realize the Diplomat Chameleon interaction, and so they were worried about terminal collision, and were just unaware that those two colliding would actually be totally fine.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that there is any possible train of thought that would justify opening Silver here over a Cargo Ship, barring just some misunderstanding about the cards in the kingdom. Which, I mean, to be fair, Way of the Chameleon with some of these cards is maybe a bit unintuitive, and they didn't really think it through.
So 7 money to Traveling Fair, a 5 cost. What's that gonna be? A cartographer.
That is not the one I expected. Why cartographer? I would think Sanctuary is a really good card to have in this deck. I want to get thin. This is also... Was this a bad order? They can't draw the Sanctuary now.
Yeah, but they had to do that. Did you want to Chameleon the Diplo, but then you also don't draw anything?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the correct order is there.
I mean, I don't see a reason to not play the cartographer first.
Well, actually maybe the best line is, what if you Chameleon the Cartographer and then draw with the dip? That's way better. Okay, that's the best line. Yeah, you play the Cartographer with Way of the Chameleon, so it doesn't draw a card. Then you top deck the Sanctuary and then draw with the Diplomat, and then you
Yeah,
can play
right.
Sanctuary.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's
That's
a
the
nice,
right line.
it's a nice spot. Yeah.
Yeah, Haunted Woods is actually terrible here, as DZ is pointing out. Chameleon says this turn, so if you Chameleon to Haunted Woods, you're getting the +3 cards next turn anyway. It won't become +3 coins. And you don't want to have a big starting hand in this kingdom, because then your Diplomats won't be able to activate, and you'll have no plus action.
Yeah.
And the attack doesn't even hurt, because they can just Sanctuary away all their green cards, so they're not going to top deck anything. Don't encourage that, Terra Cubist. Why do we need... I'm not persuaded... Actually, no, I'll take that back. I'm actually okay with Sculpture. I was thinking Sculpture was terrible when I was still thinking we were gaining silvers with it, but gaining Diplos with Sculpture actually seems great. I rescind my criticism.
Yeah, so this game looks pretty good for Smith. Pretty thin, and it's got this sculptor.
So here we can activate a Diplomat here. Actually, it doesn't even matter whether you activate it. All you need is the coins from it, not the actions. Cargo Ship might even be better.
Yeah, I could see either one. Do you buy a horde here? Is what I wonder, or do you just?
I don't think I want golds. I think I just want action-based payload so I can Diplomat things forever.
Yeah, I wondered if like a mixture would make any sense, but that's probably better. Just second sculptor.
I mean, like, you could float a few treasures in this deck and still activate Diplomat, because your deck's not going to get progressively greener over time. You can just Sanctuary the greens. And so, like, if for some reason you had, like, 2 or 3 silvers, like maybe you sculpted a silver at some point for the villager, that wouldn't be a problem, I don't think. But I don't want too many of them. Like, if I ever had 4 more treasures, I think that would start to be a problem.
Yeah.
So this is already looking kind of in the bag to me for N.A. Smith. I'm
Yeah,
saying
it
that a little
should.
bit late. It's kind of looking on the bag when RG opened the silver. Um,
I still was first player, so I mean,
yeah.
something else must have gone wrong. One thing to point towards is the cartographer, I guess. That was also a
Yeah,
bit
the
of a
card was
strange
also
choice.
weird. I'm kind of wondering what RG's game plan has been. Like, I'm wondering if they were planning to build the same deck all along and have taken a weird route to get there, or if maybe they had a different plan in mind initially and then saw what N.A. Smith was doing and are now trying to pivot back to it.
Yeah, double Diplo here. It's not it's not hopeless.
The odds are not 0%. As N.A. Smith, I definitely want to take the last three diplomats here.
Yeah, that's probably happening. What's the money situation? 5, 8, 809.
What are we taking with 8 or 9? I think definitely diplomat. So then you can buy a 4 or a 5. Well, you can't buy a 4 because there won't be any 4s left.
I could see a third sculptor even. I mean, at this point, they are not that amazing anymore, but you can still sculpt some cargo ships. Cargo ship is draw. You have these actions from Diplo, but I'm not sure if that's the best. That's the best buy.
Hmm. As long as it isn't by province.
Nah, that's not happening. Yeah, I think I just go Diplo sculptor here because I don't know what should be better than that.
What's the third sculptor gaining you?
Um, ships.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. But
I think you'll end up being a little bit action limited, right? You can play 5 terminals here. You have 3 sculptors and 2 ships in that deck. So it will work out for like the first turn, but then once you get a bunch of ships, I think you're going to run out of actions to play the sculptors and cargoes. I mean, he does it, so we'll find out.
okay, and what's the next step? I guess now you start grading as N.A. Smith, right?
Yeah,
Because what
I
else
don't want to
do
play
you
the
want to
long
build?
game as N.A. Smith. He's behind on the diplomat split.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, so these last two cards are diplomats for RG then?
Oh, one of them is. They have 5 diplomats in play. One of them's a chameleon.
Oh yeah, I overlooked that one. And so sculptor, I think gaining cargo ship and then drawing with the cargo ship, and then diplomat, chameleoning this last diplomat and buy
And
something useful.
and the last card is Carto, I believe.
Oh yeah, okay.
So if you do that line, you end up with 11 money. right?
Yeah, that's also what I end up in my calculations. 11 and some buys. Hmm.
Could go like Sanctuary Duchy. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how necessary a third Sanctuary is, but RG's still not quite thin. You could just take a province.
It just stops here. I mean, leaving those two on the bottom is kind of nice if you decide you only need 10 money. What I don't like is not taking the cargo ship, though.
Yeah. I think having they have 0 cargo ships in their deck. It's kind of odd. Yeah, even if you were to stop here, I would think that cargo ship is still better than silver.
Yeah, actions don't seem to be a problem here, right? So I don't
Yeah, especially for RG's
like these
deck.
silvers. Yeah.
I mean, you could consider like maybe you don't want to play 2 cargo ships per turn. Maybe you settle for just 2 cargo ships total, because a 7-card hand could still dud with diplomat. But 1 cargo ship is still totally fine per turn, because diplomat will still activate from 6 cards.
Yep. Yeah, province is okay, I guess. You can exile it immediately on your next turn. Still have to get rid of some of, or rather, I would like to get rid of these coppers.
Yeah, I think Sanctuary Duchy or Province Pearl Diver. Well, they managed to surprise. Explorer is not what I was going to guess. Yes, both give you silvers. One gives you a villager.
I mean, to be fair,
Um,
Explorer is gonna give you probably gold starting. I mean, not next turn, but the turn after that.
yeah. Um, I don't know if you're doing that, you could just take the province now and then buy like province explorer next turn.
Yeah, Marcus has a good point there. If you want the Explorer to gain you golds, you have to play the Explorer before exiling your province, which is ideally also something you want to be doing.
That's also true. Is in a Smith, I can at least see adding some amount of treasure. Like they're a little bit behind on the Diplos, and so maybe they don't have as much action payload and whatnot. But they are thin, so they could afford to have a few silvers in their deck. As RG, you've got plenty of actions, but you're not thin, and so I don't want to add a card that's gaining me a bunch of treasures right now. I would worry about my deck falling apart.
So let's see what these sculptors are gaining.
I don't see that many cards costing 4 or less that I want to gain as NA Smith.
I have a feeling that he wants to play with 4 cargo ships. So my prediction is gain cargo ships and 2 silvers here.
Like he already had 2 sculptors in the deck, which would be enough to get you up to the 4 cargo ship number pretty easily. Um, if anything, I think adding a 3rd sculptor kind of impedes your ability to play with cargo ships, because now you're cutting it close on actions.
Yeah, but if you gain some silvers here, you should have some. I mean, with the villagers, not having a perfect starting hand should hopefully not result in you dudding.
All right, so he takes a silver, a cargo ship.
Cartographer. I mean, okay.
Carto's interesting. Hmm. You can help avoid some duds. I mean, as could Sanctuary, but Smith's thin enough that maybe Carto's better than Sanctuary for him. I mean, it could have been Province Duchy, even, maybe. If you have confidence in your deck, you could exile 2 of those.
So this is a similar situation as earlier with your line, Chameleon the Cartographer.
Yeah,
Looks
agreed.
best. Although, I mean, he has 1 villager, so I guess you could also play the Cartographer, but
Yeah, even if you miss the Chameleon Carto line, you could just spin the Villager and not be too sad about it.
I mean, you might end up being sad if you draw something bad here, and even if you top deck good stuff, and then you have to draw with a Diplo, which puts you at a 6-card hand, and you have, yeah, that's gonna be not great, right? Oh, right, 6-card hand still works with if you
Yeah, as
found
long as
another
you...
Diplo. Yeah,
Well, actually, if you... Supposing you just drew like a Diplomat and 2 stop cards, that could still dud. Because then if you played the second Diplomat for draw, you would be out of actions. And if you played it as a Chameleon, you would be out of draw. It's pretty unlikely to dud, even if you missed the best line.
I mean,
But
this
not
Cartographer
impossible.
is gonna discard anything that's not useful, so I think it should be fine. Yeah, this looks nice.
So they discard the copper. I think that makes sense. Actually, does it make sense? Isn't that what you want to hit with your Sanctuary? They don't have another green card. I guess they have more coppers coming up. They still have a ton of coppers in their deck.
So here's your chance to gain a Sculptor, gain a cargo ship to draw on.
RG just really hates cargo ships. They still have 0. Maybe the sheer necessity of continuing to draw will... Yeah, there we go. They finally got one.
So they had to be forced to do that,
Yeah,
sort of.
only when backed into a corner will they finally succumb to cargo ship. Well, this still looks... Actually, this doesn't look super fine. They bottomed deck 3 diplomats. They're just missing out on a pretty big amount of money.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Province,
Yeah,
Pearl
Province seems
Diver,
fine to me.
I guess.
I think Pearl Diver looks better than nothing. Probably. I mean, the only risk, I guess, of Pearl Diver is maybe your opponent who has a million sculptors can pile or something in 2 turns, but I don't think that's a very likely risk.
You could even think about a state, maybe, but probably not. I mean, you have next turn should be good, and you don't have that many more targets to exile with the Sanctuary, and 1 point might be kind of relevant, but I still don't think that I like the estate.
Yeah, I think if they were slightly thinner, I would like the estate. They still have a province and 2 coppers, which is enough targets ideally for these sanctuaries.
Yeah, right, okay.
I'll give 3 points. You could sculpt an estate mid-turn if that point ends up mattering.
Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't sound as appealing if there's some other option. So, can Smith double this turn, maybe? Doesn't seem like it, but I guess we'll find out.
My guess is no. I feel like it's not worth it for his deck to build to double. You just build to like maybe province duchy and then exile that. Does he have enough draw to get to double? I'm still not a fan of these 3 sculptures. To me, they just look really awkward.
Yeah, third one was maybe a bit much. We thought a while before gaining the third one. And I also said that I kind of want it because I didn't see a good alternative with 9 money, and you had 9 money and 2 buys or whatever. I guess you could have just taken the Cartographer then, maybe, but yeah, I don't hate them, but they don't do a whole lot at this point anymore. So this is 10, 14 at most.
So what are we taking?
I think he's gonna take cargo ship silver again, and then he is at the 4 cargo ships and buy province duchy maybe.
You could do cargo ship pearl diver and still hit that same number.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Maybe that's better. Although I'm not sure that I want that pearl diver over a silver.
I suppose a possible benefit here of the sculptors is if you bank up villagers now, you can add an excess of cargo ships later on and still be able to play it all.
Yeah. I think I just duchy here.
Duchy. Yeah, Duchy seems reasonable.
Although it's a bit sad to only set 2 green cards aside with the cargo ships. You would much rather have like a Kato, but I don't really want to buy another cartographer here.
Yeah, I would think Sanctuary is the other natural option besides Province. Sorry, besides Duchy. Um, Setting aside a Province and a Sanctuary feels like a nice natural combination.
So this game turns out to be a lot closer than we thought at some point, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the big thing that happened is Andy Smith just got really behind on diplomats, and that puts RG kind of in the game because it gives them more flexibility to build. I don't dislike the Duchy buy. I think it's fine. You got 2 sanctuaries in there.
So I think you lead on Pearl Diver, even though it doesn't really matter. You could also just Chameleon 1 Diplo first.
Let's see.
Okay.
I don't think you chameleon the Pearl Diver.
No, you don't, yeah.
Yeah, like you play the Pearl Diver just so you can check the bottom card, and then you chameleon diplomat, play diplomat.
Yeah, and this is already 2 sanctuaries played and not exiling any. Okay, there
Yeah.
he found the copper just in time.
This still means they're not going to exile everything they wanted to, though, right? Because they've
Yeah.
still got a province down there they need to set aside and can't. Yeah, I didn't like their opening opening the turn where they pearl dive, chameleon the pearl diver and the sanctuary. That's what I was trying to say, rather than just chameleoning one diplomat.
And maybe they didn't realize that playing Diplo from a 6 card hand. I mean, Chameleon it still activates.
That's a good question. Have they done that yet this game?
I don't know. So this is double. This is kind of double looks kind of good here, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking back at their turns. I don't think RG has ever actually chameleoned a diplomat except for the one turn it didn't matter, which is turn 5, as their first play of the turn. Which suggests maybe they just don't realize that the diplomat can activate itself.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah, I would also gain cargo ship here and then double province. That puts them in a quite a good spot, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
Then the question for NA Smith is, should he play around double? Or is that not helping you? Like, do you lose to double anyway if you take something like double duchy? But I don't really know how the points turn out for
That's
that.
a good question. Uh, I would think that you can't afford to play around double as N.A. Smith, especially because your opponent would have a 3-point lead at that point. So like if they're up 21-18, and you just like double Dutchy or something, and your opponent double provinces, I guess you could do province Dutchy in response to that.
Which ties, if that my
Yeah, that
math
would be a
was right
tie.
there. Okay.
And then maybe sculpt an estate or something, and might even potentially win. Who knows? So maybe you could afford to play around double if you're an A Smith. Um, Thinking about it now, it's actually less obvious than it seemed. It seemed like they couldn't, but maybe they can.
So what's in the discard here? Copper and one copper. All right.
Yeah, just the copper.
I mean, I kind of the story adds up, right? If you somehow don't realize that playing a diplomat using Way of the Chameleon from a 6 card hand, then maybe you also don't like the cargo ships as much. So kind of makes sense. Yeah, against the silver here. That's pretty sad, in my opinion.
It's not even totally clear to me if they realize Diplomat can be played from the 5 card hand as Way of the Chameleon, because they also have yet to do that.
Okay.
Like, if you thought you could Diplomat from a 5 card hand, they could have just Chameleoned one of their 2 cantrips and then done that. I think maybe they just don't realize the Diplomat activates itself at all.
Yeah, I see. This is quite scary for RG, but I guess they can somehow do something with gaining cargo ship. Oh, and A Smith wasn't even able to double. Okay. Oh no, never mind. What am I talking? Wasn't I was gonna say wasn't able to province, but he
Double Dutchy isn't a line that I would have hated to take for N.A. Smith, even if I had the option to take Province. I think this is actually kind of looking plausible. Like, if your opponent just doubles, then there might be a scenario where you can do Province, Duchy, gain a state. It's a nice card to top deck. Uh-oh, they're getting close to dudding.
doesn't exile the copper.
That was an
Interesting. I
interesting
was
choice. I feel like that's wrong. So is the difference between what? I guess if you like, what could you have drawn there? I guess if you drew your province, then that would have caused you to miss province. I don't know. I would have exiled the copper.
yeah, same here. So now the question for RG is, do you play around double? So if you take double duchy here, goes for the double duchy apparently. Maybe.
It's not. Is it obvious that N.A. Smith can't double?
No.
Akuchi seems to think that single province is safe.
Okay.
I wouldn't put it past this deck to double. I think it's within the realm of possibility. Oh, beggars. That's a really nice play, yeah. Yeah, beggars seem to make it pretty easy to double.
That's a nice end game here. Kind of tricky.
So now is N.A. Smith. I think you take some duchies and you're in a good spot still. You have to watch his Pearl Diver pile. But that probably benefits N.A. Smith now more than RG, because with their 5,000 sculptors, they can empty Pearl Divers pretty effectively if they need to.
So you're saying like, for example, double duchy for NA Smith is
Yeah, it's like something like that seems pretty fine. I mean, triple duchy if you could afford it. I don't know if that's possible though, without hurting your deck too much. So what are we doing here?
Gotta sculpt something, but what? Hmm.
This is awkward. I don't want to burn my villagers too much because I'd like to have those for the following turns. Okay, so this is an awkward amount of cards to have in your hand. Has to gain the Pearl Diver just to activate the diplomats.
Yeah, I guess at the end of your turn you might regain some silvers, but I'm not sure if that's actually what you want to do.
Yeah, I think having to burn the villagers hurts a lot because it's going to impede your ability to gain and play a beggar or gain a lot of cargo ships and draw with them, which are some of the things that made these sculptors at least have some value. So if they just take 2 silvers here, then they have 9 money. It is not quite enough for double duchy. Pearl Diver is also getting awful low. Yeah, this turn is just looking a little bit awkward. They're getting through their deck, but just barely. And okay, now they, what do you do here? So you've got potentially 14 money.
Yeah,
I guess
this is
potentially
14,
15
right?
if you want a beggar, but I don't. Um,
Yeah, pretty tricky. I don't know what's best here.
the risk with triple duchy is that your opponent can do province, estate, triple pearl diver. I'm
Yeah, that's
assuming.
not so easy either, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean that's as much as double province and a lot of buys. Um, I would think as in a Smith you're taking a silver here. I don't think an additional cargo ship helps you. I don't think you're gaining enough cards that you run out of cargo ships with 3 of them in play right now. And I do want the villager.
Yeah, sounds right. You could do something like double duchy and beggar. I mean, I guess the first question you have to ask yourself is do you just province, like province duchy, or do you not province?
So yeah, province duchy loses to double province. Double duchy is a little bit safer in that either way you lose to 16, but one requires more gains. Um, province duchy is not unreasonable. Um, I think I prefer the double duchy line though.
Yeah, recycle garbage last turn wasn't great, so NA Smith kind of knows that RG is gonna have a good turn coming up, most likely. Some
Yeah.
Diplos should be down there for RG, right? How many did they play on their last turn? 2? Only 2? Oh, does go for the beggar.
Interesting.
What does that mean?
Triple duchy?
That means triple duchy, most likely, yeah. Okay.
They elected not to set the other 2 duchies aside.
How many cargo ships?
They had three
were
in
in
play,
play.
so they could have
Okay.
set them all aside. Obviously, the worry is that you might not activate your diplomat, and so it does seem pretty reasonable that you might just not want to.
Okay, this is nice. Now you can play. No, I was gonna say play the Explorer and then exile the province, but I guess there was another province down there, so that was fine. So now I think it's pretty hard for nasmith to double, right? So RG can take province, probably also has to take some estates to not lose to something like three Pearl Divers and an estate. Oh, never mind. They are not drawing somehow. That's pretty sad.
They accidentally set their gold aside. Um, so here, you can't even do two estates. They can only afford the one. Um,
I think you have to take the one.
yeah, I mean, definitely taking the one just to make the Pearl Diver pile out less trivial.
I mean, ideally, I would like to traveling fair. Nah, that doesn't even work. I was gonna say like a beggar, but you can also just set it aside with a cargo ship. What you can do here, you can no, also not that. I guess you can traveling fair buy the estate and buy a copper, so you have one more copper in your next hand.
That's true.
But I don't know if that's even correct.
Nothing here looks very good. I would expect NA Smith is very likely to win next turn, no matter what RG does.
Yeah, I mean, NA Smith's deck is kind of bad now, right? They played one beggar and also took triple duchy, so
Oh, agreed. Like, I don't think their deck is going to double or anything. But here the burden is just acquire some Pearl Divers. Do you keep the beggar here? It's a lot of money.
I think you do.
He does not.
All right, yeah. Lemon Spawn has a good point, right? If you cargo shipped the gold, still would have been able to province estate. Is that right? I think it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, you would have had enough money. Cargo ship gold
Yeah.
actually does seem like a reasonable play. I think they initially did that as just a mistake, and yet it ends up being right given how much money they had. NA Smith could still miss here.
Yeah, pretty easily. Has it? Really?
Does he have it?
Mm, but only one buy currently, so he has to.
And it's still kind of expensive, right? So he would need 10 money to buy Pearl Diver Estate. So now
Yeah,
he only needs 6. Yeah, this looks like it's... Actually, is this winning? 3, 5, 7... Is this a coin short?
you only has only one action, right? So
Yeah,
if
like if
you
you could gain Pearl Diver here, that'd be a win. But he can't play it. So it looks like he's $1 short of the win. Might just end up taking the tie.
hmm. Interesting.
What's the winning line,
Oh,
Johns? Okay. um, it's 3-1 right now, or is it still 2-1? 2-1 was last game, right? I don't even
yeah,
know.
it's
It's
still
is it
it's
still
still
two
two.
one?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Wait, he
Okay.
sculpted a copper, so that what does that do?
I think he's taking the tie
Oh,
and
okay, but in a
sculpting the
fancy
copper to
way.
be fancy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Oh,
No.
no, he doesn't want to be fancy. He wants to be boring.
Deny. It's a clear deny that undo. You want to be fancy, you're
Yeah.
gonna get punished.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even really punishment.
Oh, this had some chance to win, right?
How is
Yeah,
that a
yeah, yeah.
loss, Sakuchi? I mean, sculpting copper would have just been exact money.
Yeah, but this had some free roll to win if you draw like 2 silvers or something. Or copper silver would have been enough, I think.
You mean if you draw with your cargo ship? It also has some chance to lose, right? If you draw no money.
But he did draw with a cargo ship, right? Or
Did he? Did I miss that?
hmm,
Why
he
did he
did
draw?
draw.
He's taking some. Oh, so he did go for the gamble. Um, that seemed risky.
Yeah, that's risky. Also
It-
seems much more likely to lose than to win, right?
yeah, the odds that he draws 3 money seem lower to me than the odds that he draws 0 money.
The thing is, what's the situation? Yeah, RG profits more from a tie than
I think
wait,
Andy
no.
Smith profits from the tie, right?
Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so then it was a bit strange.
Yeah, like a tie I think is about as good for a win. Words are hard. A tie is about as good as a win for Andy Smith.
Yeah, I
Um,
got it backwards because then the play would make more sense, right? If you think, yeah, I'm not benefiting much from a tie, so I might as well go for the win. If I
yeah.
don't lose, it doesn't hurt me as much. But with the other way around as it is, that was a bit of a strange play, maybe. So next board, right?
Yep. What do we got here? I'm seeing a dearth of villages, so this is not going to be a very strong kingdom. Uh, we got pretty good trashing and also some nasty attacks. Like you could try to build a sanctuary golden deck because you got really good thinning for it. It's hurt a bit by the urchin, but not totally shut down. If you could mercenary attack them, it would hurt that deck, but I'm not sure how much a non-engineer can reliably play mercenary.
Yeah, I was also looking at a Sanctuary Golden deck kind of thing.
Yeah, like
Mm,
normally Sanctuary is pretty fine with just like 4 silvers, for example. With Urchin around and playing with a 4 card hand, you probably want to have like 2 silvers and a gold as your payload.
yeah. So Annie Smith going for Sewers Open. I think that
Actually,
means he's
oh
gonna open Sewers Remake, probably.
yeah, Remake Sewer sounds great as far as an opening goes. Trash 4 cards. You know what actually might be a bit of an annoyance in that deck? Marauder. It's like you get down to the Sanctuary Golden deck, and you have to exile ruins. Having a Marauder in your deck also hurts you. I don't know. I want to make Marauder work, but um,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they can just go for a couple of Sanctuaries and should still be fine, right? With a Spoils landing in your discard.
yeah, I think the Marauder seems like an annoyance, but it might be as much of an annoyance for you as it is for them because it is also decreasing your draw by 1.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Marauder's weak, but yeah, actually, there wasn't really a butt to that. Marauder's just weak. I want to see it work, but it's not super likely.
Part of me wants to open Dismantle over Remake, but that's pretty crazy.
It's not that crazy if you know that the cards you ultimately want are just golds eventually, and you get to trash 2 anyway with it. I feel like I would take the remake. It just sends so fast, but I can see the value in having it dismantle.
Better draw here for RG being able to trash 2 estates.
Indeed. I'm not even sure if we want the mercenaries here, given how thin we are. I assume these urchins are just for the attack.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, you could say, like, with a couple of Sanctuaries, you rebuy those coppers, but is that really worth it just to get a double discard aim and attack down to 3 instead of down to 4 in? I don't know.
Like, if there were an engine to be built and my opponent tried to play money, I could totally see buying coppers to feed a mercenary attack to shut it down. I think if you're playing also a very simple deck, that work is going to hurt you too much. Adding 2 coppers to your own deck to make them discard 2 cards. Actually, really just discard 1 card. Like, you're adding 2 coppers to get them down from a 4-card hand to a 3-card hand, compared to just playing Urchin.
Take a silver here, maybe. Yeah.
4 is a lot more than 3. Lemon's a mathematician, right? I think I should trust him on that. That wasn't my intuition about those 2 numbers, but...
Kind of true.
I don't know, there's infinite numbers between 4 and 4.1, too.
This got down to 3.5 cards. Okay, step 1 is done. They got thin, and now you add like a gold and a sanctuary. Okay, RG got a dismantle here, which looks pretty good.
I think Dismantle is reasonable if you want to get 2 golds into your deck. You know, hitting 6 isn't exactly trivial here when you don't already have the golds. And you can exile the Dismantle later.
So somehow, I don't know how it happened, but this looks pretty good for Recycle Garbage, I think.
Yeah, I like their spot. They feel pretty close to going golden here.
Trash the remake. Gain.
Just an Urchin, I think. I don't think you want another silver in this deck.
Yeah, probably goes for the silver instead.
Oh, Black Cats are a very relevant consideration. I could see Black Cat. I don't like the silver.
So how much draw does he have? So he has a 6-card deck right now, so I don't really want to buy anything here. So I can make sure to play... What am I even playing next turn? Dismantle, I guess, to trash gold into Sanctuary, maybe? I don't know.
I could see buying Black Cat. I mean, it's really bad for your deck now, but it's going to be really good later. It's not an obvious choice, but I would at least think about the Black Cat pretty seriously. Next turn, I would assume that ideally we're dismantling the other remake and buying a Sanctuary.
Yeah, maybe that's better. Yeah. Then you have a couple of coppers in your deck. Oh, goes ahead and buys the Black Cat.
They are punished for it. They don't line up the dismantle with the remake. This is, of course, the short-term downside of the Black Cat.
Yeah, this is what I meant with the 6-card deck. I kind of wanted to have that 6-card deck, but I mean, of course, it's also unlucky that this happens now.
I guess it's what, like a 40% chance that this happens? That either your dismantle or your remake is in the bottom card.
Something like that, probably.
Oh, no, less than that, because it's less than that. You could bottom deck Black Cat as well. I don't know why I didn't think about that. So it's a 1/3 chance. RG was 2/3 likely to find both the dismantle and the remake.
Yeah, I don't really want to risk that because I think position was fine for RG and just want to consolidate my lead.
Yeah, that's fair.
Still,
I feel like the silver actually might have been the bigger problem there than the Black Cat even. Because if you didn't have a silver on that deck, then I think even with the Black Cat, you're still guaranteed to draw it.
Oh, Blacksmith.
That is shocking to me. Why
I
do
don't
we have
know.
a royal blacksmith?
I mean, we have silvers and golds, so
I guess. Okay.
playing the blacksmith as your terminal after you play a couple of sanctuaries lets you maybe do more than. I mean, it obviously means any smith is not going for some kind of golden deck.
Yeah, I mean, his play up to this point had looked a whole lot like he was going for the golden deck, aggressively thinning and then taking sanctuaries. The blacksmith is more like I want to have a bunch of golds and silvers in my deck.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the play now for RG? How close are they to Golden State Warrior?
As RG, I really want a sanctuary. Oh no, they already have one. Do you need a second one? Maybe not. They could have just exiled the dismantle immediately and started provincing. They chose not to, which suggests they want to play that dismantle more. But I'm not sure that's actually good for their deck.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, Blacksmith. Got any Smith to. Okay, he goes. Okay, now any Smith wants to play the Black Hat game apparently. Didn't get it here.
That's a pretty good starting hand for NA Smith. You get to exile your copper, play the blacksmith, find all your money.
Ouch.
This is less of a good hand. At least they top deck the Black Cat. Actually, maybe this could be fine for NA Smith. If they draw their sanctuary off the Black Cat, then they're totally fine. Urchin here, I would think.
Yeah, probably Urchin.
Oh, it could be Black Cat as well. You're in the greening phase. Black Cat might even be better than Urchin.
Seems close to me. Silver.
They like silvers more than I do. So NA Smith managed to find the sanctuary anyway, which means they're gonna have a good turn here.
Yeah, but eating two curses again.
Yeah, that is the pain. Seaway Black Cat, that's cute. The plus buy doesn't matter much, especially if you play your Black Cat on your opponent's turn. You're getting plus buy during their turn. I assume it was just you want the Black Cat more than any of the fives, so might as well Seaway it. All right, Recycle Garbage picks up a win. So this final game will determine it. NA Smith needs to win. If it's a tie, then it goes to RG.
Yeah, and RG is going first, right? Oh, is it?
I believe RG is going first. Neither of the things RG suggested were correct.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that RG wouldn't go first here.
Yeah, like if it were an odd number of games, like this is game 7 or something, sure. But it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense for a game 6 for it to be random.
I think we've seen quite a low number of villages this match. There was this workers village board. What else?
Diplomat was a village.
Yeah, okay, right. Sort of.
Ironmonger. We've never had more than one village in a kingdom. I don't think though.
I was more thinking of regular villages. All these ironmongers and diplos are some conditional villages, but
Yeah.
not.
And speaking of which, we only have one village in this kingdom, which is Dame Molly.
Yeah, this is a bit ugly here.
This is rather ugly.
Both players, both players with the 5-2.
For the second time this match, uh, game one was also the double 5-2.
And we also have our Overlord back, so guess what we are seeing here now?
I mean, Overlord is nice in that it avoids the knight attacks. I'm not sure. I don't think knights get touched here. I could see scenarios where you play Overlord as Dame Sylvia. I don't think I want to buy Dame Sylvia.
Yeah.
2-5 would be the ideal, I think. I'd like to open Fisherman Overlord. I think on 5-2, I'm just taking Overlord.
Oh, I think I would actually take Old Witch, the the real Old Witch, and then
Are you buying anything on turn 2? Oh,
I think
Old Witch
I'm
Overlord, maybe?
yeah, I think I'm
Oh,
buying.
that actually sounds
I
really
mean,
good,
maybe
doesn't
you
it?
can also buy Courtyard and turn it into an Animal Fair, even though I would much rather play the Old Witch as my terminal than an Animal Fair.
Yeah, I
But
could.
yeah, I think I like Old Witch and Overlord.
I can see the
Overlord is
appeal
a
in
bit
that.
sketchy, but I like it.
Of course, I guess, yeah, you can play the Overlord as Fisherman even if they collide, which is not bad. Okay, I think I'm sold on Old Witch Overlord as the opening.
I also have some hopes of playing a trader at some point. I mean, this game is gonna be sloggy, and silvers seem like pretty decent cards here.
Yeah, I would be fine playing Overlord as Trader at some point. I also think Devil's Workshop is a card I'd like to get in my deck. Like on 4-3, I think Devil's Workshop Overlord seems nice. If you find it on the debt turn, gaining a gold off of it is actually pretty nice in a Kingdom this week.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But I still prefer having the 5-2, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking Devil's Workshop over Old Witch, I don't think. RE. Are they saying, let's re-roll this? In which case, I wouldn't mind. Are they attempting to type their name? If so, they're getting there slowly.
I mean, this is really the board I would want to see as a player being first player in the last match because I think it's more random than the average first player advantage board.
Agreed. I mean, I would be really happy when I saw I had 5-2 until I saw what my opponent opened.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm. So what do you do here with the collision?
Fisherman?
I guess fisherman, yeah. Yeah. Has to be fisherman.
Yeah, I think RG has the better draw here, just because either way you're triggering a shuffle that has both of them in it. And Smith could have a nice draw if they manage to bottom deck their Overlord.
Which does happen.
Yeah, so that's actually not really worse than for NA Smith after all.
So here actually I'm already considering playing trader.
That seems reasonable to me. Having 7 cards left feels really nice. Your Old Witch is likely to trigger a shuffle, but just barely, which is a good way to keep your Old Witch and Overlord from colliding.
Yeah.
Because like with 2 terminals like this, I think it's really nice to have them on sort of opposite sides of the shuffle. The longer you can keep that going, you could consider developing an estate, and then you have a clean shuffle. That might be worse. Um,
I mean, playing the old witch, the old witch with the overlord and not drawing the other old witch is probably the best you can do, but you didn't know that was gonna happen, so
yeah, I guess if you're a filthy lucker, then this is definitely the best line. Um, they definitely. I mean, a little riskier, but this is the best you can hope for sure. I assumed it's Fisherman again.
now it could have been a no, never mind, okay. I was gonna say a gear because the old witch doesn't trigger a shuffle, but I guess it would have.
Yeah, the So if you geared there, you would trigger a shuffle the following turn, and both of the cards would have been in play because the
Yeah.
overlord would stick around. If you did the gear line, I would be looking to put another terminal in that deck. Maybe like you could gear the old witch and then buy a new overlord, so that you at least have some terminal in the shuffle that you triggered.
Yeah. What do we buy here?
Overlord for me, I think. I feel like these decks are thick enough that 3 terminals seems pretty fine, especially if 2 of them are overlords and the impact of collision is pretty small.
Yeah, up was a good point. The Devil's Workshop down here. You can just repay the debt next turn and gain a gold.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah,
this is recycled garbage. They have demonstrated a propensity to click Overlord, whether it's good or not. So I would hope that in this scenario they click it.
yeah. I mean, buying gold here looks much worse, right? If we know that the Devil's Workshop can just gain you the gold next turn.
Yeah, what all's down there? They got a Devil's
Yeah, that's
Workshop, and I don't know. They should know. They probably have figured it out, but I haven't followed. Um,
yeah, but I thought as a response to the chat that you still buy something next turn and then you don't get the gold. But maybe yeah, if the bottom deck is so bad that you don't really want to buy anything and just gain the gold like that, and that oh yeah, okay, that's
yeah,
pretty
looking
bad.
at this hand, I'm really happy about the Overlord buy.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not buying Overlord here.
please don't.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And now I think I'm still want to play this trader. But maybe at
I
this
I like
point,
the
I'm not
trader
sure.
idea is nice. I mean, you could also develop the estate and get this 1 silver, but sooner. But yeah, I like the idea of turning the estate into silver.
I mean, I guess you could also just say I'm playing Old Witch and hope to draw not too many things dead.
I dig the trader line. I think. What do you buy if you play the trader? You
Yeah.
could trade a copper and buy fisherman. Well, and now you can't because you get cursed. Um,
Yeah, I really would like to have these silvers though, even if I would be able to buy the fisherman. I would buy gear as a response to your question. I think on 3, like play trader, gain these silvers and buy a gear.
yeah, I can get behind that. Gear is like really good in kingdoms like this. I would say.
Okay, played an Old Witch instead. Drawing an Overlord dead.
Yeah, they drew no cards of value in just one of their overlords. Not that getting 2 curses off the top of their deck isn't also somewhat good.
I guess it depends on if Nasmith plays an Old Witch here, because otherwise I would have kind of not
That's a good
minded
point.
having curse
Okay,
on top.
maybe it's bad through and through then. Maybe you don't even want to on top deck the curses. Um, what do you buy here?
Buy gold, gain gear, maybe.
That actually sounds fine to me. Um,
Yeah, to be fair, it is quite some number of terminals by now. But I mean, we also have a thick deck, so it's not like we can play only one terminal every turn. I mean, we can only play one terminal every turn, but it's not like we are gonna collide them every turn.
yeah, especially when half the terminals are overlords, the collision is not so impactful because you could play them non-terminally. Um, but like in a deck like this, gold is actually not the worst card. Um,
Yeah, I think you gear the Overlord and a copper and just gain another gold. Why do you?
uh, I the setting aside curse doesn't make sense. If
No,
they're
it
thinking
doesn't.
that's going to block old witch, it doesn't work like that.
It ended up not mattering because you have all the money you need anyway.
They have so much money.
Well, maybe that's not true, because now you could play Overlord as another gear and set some more money aside than you
You could also
are now able to.
trade the curse, I guess, is an upside of this line.
Could also trade a gold.
You could even trade the old witch. You could trade a
Oh,
lot of things.
oh yeah. I kind of like trading the old witch actually, and then just by province. That feels
Oh,
pretty good to me.
developing old witch is a line that's being suggested. You could develop old witch into like gold trader or gold devil's workshop.
Yeah, I really liked having 5 silvers in my deck.
Yeah,
It's like
I
the
think like
masterpiece without having the masterpiece in deck.
I
Sounds
really
pretty
like
great.
killing the old witch. I think both trader and develop seem like good ways to kill it. Um, yeah, 5 silvers is it has some appeal. These decks are not super high on payload. They just went for the gear play, which feels weaker.
Yeah. Okay, Animal Fair, I kind of like.
I like having an animal fair in my deck more than the old witch. I do think I would like having 5 silvers more than an animal fair. Or even like a top decked golden trader.
Could play Dame Sylvia here and
Yeah,
buy
Sylvia's pretty
province.
cute. Um,
Could also play Gear and hope to draw enough money to buy province. And if you don't, just set maybe aside the gold and go for the province next turn.
so I guess now is when you try to figure out what's left in N.A. Smith's deck. If you're RG, you know he has a gold down there somewhere. Although at least in this case, it happens to be in his hand. Um, I'm not sure how many other targets N.A. Smith actually has in the bottom 9 cards. So maybe the risk of Dame Sylvia is relatively low.
Okay, that was quite a friendly attack. I guess this Overlord, what does it Overlord do? Maybe just play Fisherman.
Fisherman Animal Fair by Province.
Do you take an estate even at this point?
I'm gonna say no. Honestly, RG just kind of seems one, but I don't think you need the estate. Chad is all in agreement that the correct answer is definitely not Overlord.
Yeah.
Although with RG, you never know. The answer might end up being extra Overlord anyway. Maybe they learned their lesson from that previous game because they have not clicked Overlord nearly as many times here.
This isn't a good draw for any Smith colliding all the terminals.
This is true.
Or she's gonna be able to Dutchy. But yeah, these decks are so bad now. I think it's gonna take a while until the provinces are gone by now.
It's kind of looking like RG is going to be the champion here.
Dutchy silver or Dutchy gear. I think I like the silver.
So if RG wins, how many consecutive seasons will this have been with having a brand new champion? Last season, Crabcat won for the first time. The season before that, was that N.A. Smith winning for the first time? Who won the season before Crabcat?
I don't really know.
And was that was N.A. Smith's first win, right?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's another province for N.A. Smith and another duchy for recycled garbage. And another duchy for N.A. Smith. I mean, anything can still happen, I feel like.
Yeah, it's not over yet, but NA Smith will need some real good draws and RG to have some real bad draws. Like, even if NA Smith gets 2 of the 3 remaining provinces, that's not a secure victory because RG can get a duchy here. Interesting, they don't want to play this Overlord. I would have thought playing it as Fisherman seems pretty automatic. Maybe the... What other lines are they considering?
No, I think you just set aside Animal Fair and Gold. Just really making sure. I would have barely gotten there, but...
Yeah, I think I support setting aside gold over Overlord, especially if you were planning on buying something that costs 0 anyway. They would have hit province here if they'd done that. They might anyway. It seems unlikely, though.
Of course, nobody knows what that last card is, I guess.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Andy Smith looks very much back in this. I had overlooked this entirely. Maybe that was the reason they set aside Overlord Animal Fair, was they were planning on this develop line all along.
Yeah, right. I also overlooked that.
Yeah, okay, well. Yeah, a tie here
So it's game over now, yeah.
would mean RG wins the match. So NA Smith has very little incentive to take the tie. But yeah, now RG has it in hand.
I'm playing Fisherman for the style point. I guess this is more style points, right?
Yeah. This is the fancier of the two. I endorse the develop line. All right, congrats to RG, who very narrowly wins that in a nail biter. That's the match.
Yeah.
Thanks for commentating.
Congrats. Nicely done. And thanks for watching, everybody, and see you around, I guess, next season.
Poor RG is confused. They don't even realize they won.
Yeah, I think maybe they think it's 7 games. I don't know.
I think they think that, they have tied. It's exactly 3-3 right now. So I think they think they're tied and don't realize they actually win in the case of a tie break. But nope, the game's over. Congrats, you won. You'll find out eventually that you've won.